Yo, moves is paid. It's paid. That's just how it is. When my time is up, I'm gonna be out with. I'm gonna try to live. I mean, day by day. Ain't nothing sweet about it. Act like you don't know what I'm saying? You read about it. Built for war like an armadillo to smother your ass.
Complaining does nothing. Make music. Make some great music, and that's the end of it. Like,
we've been taught everything. I've been taught everything but emotional intelligence.
It doesn't matter who you are. Everyone has to be respectful, and everyone has to be, you know, a human being.
Jay-Z might be one of the most successful names in hip-hop, but not everyone has love for him. In this video, we're breaking down 10 rappers who had real problems with Hov. Some called him fake, some felt betrayed, and others just straight up hated him. If you're into the real stories behind the fame, make sure to hit that subscribe button. 10. Future. Yes, the chart-dominating trap star who built an empire off anthems and a lifestyle most rappers only pretend to live. At first glance, you wouldn't expect any real friction between him and Jay-Z. They move in different lanes, different directions, different worlds. But behind the silence, there's been a quiet tension. The issue started when Future felt Jay-Z took a shot at him, not directly, but in a way that was personal enough to sting his family.
You hear a line like Jay-Z say, you know, playing football in the future, niggas playing football. Yeah, but then when Jay-Z, when I talked to him, I didn't really say that. I don't, man, I didn't mean it like that. Like, and I was just like, you supposed to be bigging up the rap community. You need to let the, you know what I'm saying? Like, the NFL deal with the NFL. Right.
You supposed to be bigging up me. Anything. Right. We come from the trenches.
Together, right?
I come from the streets, you come from the streets. You supposed to be bigging me up.
Right.
You supposed to be giving that no negative attention. Jay made a comment that touched a nerve, and Future took it as a sign of disrespect. From that point, their energy shifted. He fired back on social media and threw slick responses in interviews, never saying Jay's name, but making it clear he didn't appreciate being used as an example. What really made the situation worse was the hypocrisy Future felt in how Jay positioned himself. Jay-Z, who came from the streets, who once lived the same reckless lifestyle, was now acting like a moral compass. He is such a hypocrite in the eyes of Future and many others. 9. MC Hammer. But the jabs from Future were nothing compared to what came from MC Hammer. Yes, the same Hammer who danced his way into pop culture history with parachute pants and platinum hits in the early 90s. Behind the glitz, Hammer was also a man of deep faith, and that's exactly where Jay-Z hit him. And Kanye West is so appalled. From the My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy album in 2010, Jay dropped a one-liner, Hammer went broke.
Show me where the boats is, Ferrari test the roasters, the hammer went broke so you know I'm more focused.
A quick punchline, maybe just a flex for most listeners, but to Hammer, it was a line that crossed into blasphemy. What followed wasn't just a clapback, it was something Hammer called spiritual warfare. In response, Hammer dropped a full diss track called Better Run Run that same year.
Let's go where the lights is hot, where a rapper gotta back up all the shit pop. Let's go there, the game is so cold.
It was a full-blown production, complete with a video where a devil figure chases a Jay-Z lookalike through the woods. It was religious. He took to Twitter in interviews saying Jay-Z had mocked not just him, but his belief in God. Hammer, who spent years as a preacher after his rap career faded, accused Jay-Z of promoting anti-Christian symbolism and called him a deceiver. He even claimed that Jay-Z was aligned with Satan, tying it to conspiracy theories about the Illuminati that were trending heavily in hip-hop circles at the time. 8. Jayz-O. But if Hammer felt betrayed by words, Jayz-O felt betrayed by blood. Long before Jay-Z was Hov, he was just a young rapper from Marcy Projects trying to get in the door, and Jayz-O was the man who opened it. Back in the late 80s, Jayz-O was already signed and established when he took Jay under his wing, even giving him his first real feature on Hawaiian Sophie in 1989.
I said my name is Jayz and she did amaze me when she said the rapper get me and my partner Jay-Z. My witness, wasn't she stacked? Wasn't she pumped?
Jayz wasn't just a collaborator, he was Jay's mentor, his gateway into the music industry. But by the early 2000s, the relationship had fractured, and it wasn't over petty bars. It was about legacy, loyalty, and business. When Rockefeller Records rose to power, Jayz-O expected to be part of it at an executive level. But Jay didn't bring him on board. That's when tension turned into resentment. Jayz-O publicly called Jay a sellout, accusing him of turning his back on the very people who helped build him. In interviews, he aired it out with brutal honesty, saying Jay had changed once money and power got involved. He even released music to make his point. Tracks like Kings County made it clear that this wasn't a misunderstanding.
I knock your fronts out, Chuck Crow till I bug out. Cannon and hit, banana clip, peel a slug out. Nigga, no doubt, you looking up, I pull a...
He wasn't dissing for buzz. he genuinely felt robbed. 7. The Game. But while Jazz O was calling Jay a sellout, things on the West Coast were getting louder and a lot more disrespectful, thanks to The Game. Out of everyone who's taken shots at Jay-Z, The Game might be the most consistent. He didn't just diss Jay once and move on. He made it a career pattern. In 2005, he dropped My Bitch, a track where he took direct aim at Jay-Z, using aggressive, mocking bars that left no room for subliminals.
Let me tell you a story about this bitch I know. Grew up on the south side sucking dicks for dope.
That same year, he called Jay out again in interviews, saying Jay-Z was acting like a gatekeeper, someone who didn't want to let new blood rise unless they kissed the ring. But it didn't stop there. In 2010, The Game added more fuel with 400 bars, throwing more jabs without hesitation.
It's been a long time, get reacquainted with the world famous. You know how on point my aim is, long range snipers.
Even as recently as 2016, during a concert in Dubai, he screamed "F*** Jay-Z" into the mic, still pressing the same button a decade later. What fueled this obsession wasn't just disrespect, it was ego. The Game felt Jay looked down on him, and not just privately. He claimed that Jay once called him a groupie, and from that point on, the beef took on a life of its own. 6. Beanie Sigel. But no one felt more personally hurt by Jay-Z's actions than Beanie Sigel. This wasn't a rap rivalry or an ego clash. This was a fallout between two people who once moved like family. Beanie was one of Jay's most loyal artists during the Rockefeller era. Albums like The Truth and The Reason weren't just critically respected. They were seen as extensions of Jay's own brand. But everything shifted when Beanie got caught up in legal troubles, facing charges for attempted murder in 2003 and later going to prison in 2005. Beanie expected support from the label he helped build, but Jay-Z, now climbing into corporate power and executive roles, stayed distant. Beanie didn't stay quiet. In 2009, he released What You Talking About, a diss track that made it clear he felt abandoned.
BC the sequel, better yet the prequel, never fear for war, cause Hog know I speed still.
He also aired out the situation in a string of interviews, saying Jay never answered his calls, never offered help, and basically turned his back when things got messy. On stage and in the press, Beanie repeatedly expressed that the hurt wasn't over money or contracts. It was the emotional betrayal that cut the deepest. 5. Camron. But hey, Beanie's fallout was nothing in front of Camron's, because this time, the issue with Jay-Z was all about respect, or the lack of it. Cam joined Rockefeller Records in 2001, when Dame Dash brought him and Dipset into the fold. The move should have cemented them as part of the Rock dynasty, but Cam always felt like Jay never gave him his proper due. He felt Jay looked at him as competition, not a teammate, and that stuck with him for years. In 2006, Cam turned that frustration into a full-on diss track titled You Gotta Love It.
You ain't the only one with big wallets. Got it, my shit's brolic, got it. But your publishing should go to Miss Wallace.
The song opened with a bold shot. You old as hell, still trying to be relevant. Cam never needed to play the tough guy. He played the funny guy who could still cut deep. He mocked Jay's age, his fashion, his business ventures, even accusing him of trying to erase Dipset's name from Rockefeller history. He'd post pictures of Jay-Z's sandals on Instagram and spend days roasting him in the captions and comments. He didn't need bars, he had timing and an audience. 4. 50 Cent. But if Cam was the king of petty, 50 Cent was the king of calculated chaos. He never had a full-blown lyrical war with Jay-Z, but it didn't stop him from sending shots, loud and often. 50 had just exploded onto the scene in 2003, Get Rich or Die Trying, right as Jay was stepping down from the mic and stepping up as president of Def Jam. The shots started coming in interviews. 50 once said Jay ain't got no hits past the clubs, questioning his relevance with the younger audience. In another interview, he famously said, "He's the coolest punk you'll ever meet." 50 made it a mission to call out what he saw as fake cool. He felt Jay was praised for being calculated, but that calculation game was at the expense of real leadership in hip-hop. What made it worse was that Jay never really engaged. He would throw a few subliminals back, but for the most part, he stayed silent, which only made 50 go harder. 3. Nas. But when it comes to pure rap warfare, no one pushed Jay-Z farther than Nas. Their beef didn't just dominate headlines, it rewrote how hip-hop beef was measured. It all began in 2001, when Jay-Z dropped Takeover.
Running this rap shit, freeway, we run this rap shit. Oh, it's Sparks, we running this rap shit.
A track where he called Nas out for falling off, taking too long between albums, and relying on nostalgia to stay relevant. Jay even accused Nas of being lazy, saying he only had one hot album every 10-year average. That line alone would have been enough to spark something. But Nas came back with Ether.
Semi-autos at your cottage, burner at the side of your dome. Come out of my throne, I got this. Locked since 9-1, I am the truest.
And that's when things exploded. He didn't just defend himself, he scorched earth. He called Jay a camel, a fake, and someone who'd stolen Biggie's style and lived off others' reputations. It wasn't just a diss, it was a dismantling. The response from fans was immediate. Ether dropped on December 4th, 2001, Jay-Z's birthday, and suddenly the conversation flipped. For the first time in his career, Jay looked beatable. The streets, the barbershops, the radios, everybody was debating if Nas had ended Jay-Z. Jay tried to strike back with Super Ugly, but that move backfired. The track included deeply personal jabs, including Nas's baby mother and Jay's own admissions of sleeping with her. Even Jay's mother told him to apologize publicly. To this day, the word ether is used in hip-hop as a verb to describe obliterating someone in a battle. That came from Nas, and Jay never truly reclaimed that upper hand from him. 2. DMX. But before the Nas war though, there was DMX. And unlike the rest, DMX didn't come for Jay from a distance. He came from history. Both were grinding in the New York underground in the early 90s, even battling each other in the Bronx back in 1993. As they moved throughout the industry, their paths diverged. And once Jay-Z became president of Def Jam in 2004, the divide became impossible to ignore. DMX felt Jay used his position to sideline him. What made it worse was that X had been vocal about showing Jay love throughout their careers. In a 2009 interview with XXL, DMX said plainly, "I showed you love, and you played me." He didn't need to make a diss track. He let the interview speak. When Jay was offered the Def Jam presidency, DMX had already left the label. He claimed he refused to return simply because Jay was in charge. The reason? He felt Jay had changed, not just as a man, but in terms of values. The wound stayed, even as the industry moved on. 1. Dame Dash. But no one's resentment ran deeper or louder than Dame Dash. This wasn't beef, this was betrayal from the inside. Dame and Jay weren't just partners, they were co-founders of Rockefeller Records. They built the house together. Dame handled the hustle, the branding, the street presence. Jay brought the bars. It worked until it didn't. In 2004, Jay took a deal with Def Jam that effectively gave him control over Rockefeller without Dame and Biggs. Dame didn't just feel cut out, he felt set up. From that moment, Dame made it his mission to let people know Jay-Z behind the curtain. In interview after interview, from The Breakfast Club to Sway in the Morning, he exposed what he called the truth. That Jay-Z had always been selfish, always about self-preservation, and that his entire public image was built on strategy, not sincerity. Dame didn't hold back. He accused Jay of being a culture vulture, a term he helped popularize, claiming Jay only showed up when something could benefit his brand. He even dragged Beyonce into it, saying that she was part of the strategy, a calculated move to level up Jay's celebrity profile and protect his legacy. Hate might be a strong word, but Jay-Z was never really liked by a lot of people, and we've only touched 10 of them. So if you're one of those fans who sees through the glam and the headlines, hit that subscribe button, because around here, we're all about exposing what's behind the legacy.